Hey folks, soulmates we like to call you. We have plenty to discuss on this Thursday. We can smell the weekend, right? Want to welcome you to FOXSOUL's Black Report. We're following the latest in the new lawsuits with an S, against Bill Cosby, and support for Black Lives Matter could be decreasing. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Nicordelai Corte. Plus, the new category being added to the Grammys to showcase Black artists and how 5 sisters are making a change in the medical field. They're the stories that impact our people.
You know, we're going to bring you our news, our views, and our voice, so let's get into our big story for the day. It takes us to Philadelphia as a teenager by the name of Shalea Porter has vanished, leaving her family in a state of panic. Shalea was last seen near her grandmother's home back on June 5th. Her failure to attend her high school graduation has amplified concerns. Her family asserts that she, a responsible student with a flawless attendance record, would never just leave. In an effort to find her, supporters gathered to distribute about 3,000 flyers. Porter's mother implored anyone with information to contact the Southwest Philly Detective Division. That number you see here on your screen, 215-686-3183. Just a disturbing story, as we've dedicated a lot of shows to the missing and exploited, that being Black children. What I find interesting is that her cell phone and other personal effects were on her bed. And you know, most of us, let alone a teenager, we don't go too many places without our cell phone.
We don't. And this is a really strange story, as you reported and as was reported there. You know, she had an impeccable attendance record. This is somebody that didn't just show up missing, you know, but somebody who actually missed their high school graduation. And so lots of cause for concern in Philadelphia, you know, and it's unknown what role the internet, you know, played in her going missing. We know so often from the folks that represent the Black and Missing Foundation, who have been a guest right here on FOXSOUL's Black Report, as you mentioned, you know, so often, you know, even, you know, the smartest, savviest folks on the internet can sometimes get duped. And so we hope that she comes back again soon. Again, that number to contact the Southwest Detective Division in Philadelphia, 215-686-3183.
Yeah, not only graduation, but prom. An impeccable attendance record, and also a scholar, as she is scheduled to, the university skips my mind right now, but she's scheduled to attend college. So, you know, everything is in alignment with, you know, what we would want, you know, from our children, what we would want from this up and coming generation, graduation season. She's prepared to partake in all of these events, and just mysteriously disappear, and they have not heard from her. It is just scary. I cannot imagine what her family must be going through, and we can only hope and pray for the best in trying to find her.
That's right. Well, former Marine Daniel Penny, who encountered unhoused street performer Jordan Neely on a New York subway, has been indicted by a Manhattan grand jury for Neely's death. Initially charged with second-degree manslaughter, the exact charges will be revealed at Penny's arraignment. Penny, claiming self-defense, applied a lethal chokehold despite Neely's lack of a weapon or physical contact with anyone on the train. In an exclusive interview with Fox News Digital, Penny justified his actions, expressing fear for the safety of other passengers. Neely's family strongly criticized Penny's defense, asserting that he acted with indifference and deserves prison. Penny's court appearance is set for July 17th.
Yeah, and this, it really sets the stage, if you will, to see if those charges will be a little heavier. A lot of folks wanted heavier charges. There were, you know, as you may remember, plenty of protests leading up to those charges, because for a while, this particular offender, alleged offender, you know, walked free for a while, and it was like, it felt like New York authorities were kind of scratching their heads as to what to do. And I think, you know, with this case, and much like the case down in Florida with A.J. Owens, the mother of those 4 children who was killed by a neighbor, sometimes patience, you know, is the key. Sometimes it seems like, you know, maybe law enforcement, and we know we have issues with trusting and ensuring justice, but maybe it is about patience. So the folks that we do trust to bring charges, to bring an indictment, you know, have the time to go about it the right way and let these charges stick. I know down in Florida, they're still looking for some heavier charges as well. So, you know, you just have to let the legal system play out, no matter how long it really takes.
And in an exclusive interview with Fox News Digital, as was referenced, when Penny told the outlet, quote, he would have killed somebody had I not intervened. How do you know that? How do you know that? And do we really want to live in a country where an individual can decide whether or not you pose a lethal threat to people on a train and they take your life into their own hands? That's a big part of what this case is all about. And so we've got to keep our eye on it. Some hopefully encouraging news to the Neely family, the fact that Penny was indicted.
Yeah, well, and there are other folks who were, in helping with restraining him. So, I've always said, let's take a look at those other two men as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Mississippi now, where a police officer by the name of Sergeant Greg Capers has been suspended without pay for shooting 11-year-old Adarian Murray during a domestic dispute response. The decision to change Capers' status from paid leave to unpaid leave was made by the Board of Aldermen. Adarian's family seeks termination and criminal charges against Capers. Now, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is still conducting its probe, and a $5 million federal lawsuit has since been filed by that family.
Yeah, there are folks that might say, well, maybe he didn't intend to shoot the young man, right? We invest too much in police training for this to have happened. And if you're going to walk around and have the added responsibility of carrying lethal force, you need to know when to use that and how to use that responsibly. In this case, it appears to be an irresponsible use of force. It seems as if it is shoot first, ask questions later, and we see this time and time and time again. And so, kudos to the folks on that city council that had the courage to say, wait a minute, why do we have him on leave with pay? He should be on leave without pay. And so that is just a modicum of the justice that the family of that young boy is seeking.
And not only do we, invest a lot in police training, we also depend on it. We also, want to trust in it, and time and time again, that training in particular fails us. And so, again, moving through the halls of justice, if you will, hoping this family gets that and that lawsuit that is pending, so this young man can continue to recover with whatever it is he needs.
Yeah. Well, jurors in a federal court in New Jersey have awarded $25.6 million to Shannon Phillips, a former regional Starbucks manager. Now, Phillips and other white employees allege unfair treatment by the coffee chain following the high-profile arrest of two black men in Philadelphia. The jury found that Phillips' firing violated anti-discrimination laws, with race being a determining factor. Starbucks denied the claim, stating the need for a strong leader during the crisis.
And to Hamtramck now, that's a city right here in Detroit. They have unanimously voted to ban the display of LGBTQ flags on public property. Now, the decision was made during a contentious city meeting, with one council member arguing that such displays are unnecessary, stating that the LGBTQ community is already represented, and questioned the need for government property to showcase the flag. Now, the city's council members and mayor are predominantly Muslim, and the ban is seen as an attempt to respect religious rights. Critics view the ban as discriminatory, while the resolution's author argues that it represents the majority opinion of the city's residents.
Now, Courtney, I have a lot to say about this.
I know you do. I was going to yield the desk to you.
Earlier this week I was at the White House, the People's House, and I posted a video of what felt like a church service on the South Lawn of the White House celebrating Juneteenth. And I was looking at one of the messages on social media, and somebody said, wow, it's amazing that this White House can have a pride celebration a few days before having a Juneteenth celebration. And might I add that Juneteenth celebration included a celebration of black music, which included gospel music, right? And so this idea that this council person is putting forth, Naeem Chadori, where she says, quotes, "You guys are welcome," referring to the LGBTQ community and its supporters, but why do you have to have a flag shown on government property to be represented? Government property is the people's property, first of all. And flags are symbols. They are demonstrations of our values. And I understand that there's a significant Muslim population there. I understand that people have various religious views and should be entitled to those views. But when it comes to government property, it's the people's property. And just how I would advocate for the LGBTQ flag to be flown, I would advocate for celebrations of Ramadan, celebrations of Passover, right? That's the beautiful thing about the United States of America, is that at our best, people of all walks of life can unite around one flag, the idea and principles of freedom and justice for all.
Here's the thing for me. First and foremost, let the flag fly. It's not bothering you or anybody else. But I'm sure a lot of soulmates can identify with this. I'm just amazed at how much that community has changed. Hamtramck was traditionally a Polish community, and now to hear that it is, ran by Muslims, there's a huge Asian population, still mostly white and little less than 10% black, also speaks to, how our communities have changed. And as a result, you're having people move through policies like this and discrimination like this. So very interesting.
Yeah, and even though Ramadan doesn't have a flag, I know it doesn't have a flag, but it's still a celebration, of a community of people. And I'm saying there's room for everybody at the table. Moving along, Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett has made history as the first black woman Democrat to participate in the congressional baseball game, a tradition that dates back 114 years. Crockett expressed her motivation to inspire young black girls with big dreams, whether on the baseball field or in the halls of Congress. The bipartisan event raised funds for local charities, with Republicans securing their third consecutive victory, defeating Democrats 16-6. Yikes. Crockett, a civil rights attorney, represents Texas's 30th district and serves on the House Oversight Committee. Her participation highlights the ongoing need for increased diversity in Congress.
Bill Cosby is being sued in the Los Angeles County for alleged sexual misconduct. Victoria Valentino, a former Playboy model, accuses Cosby of drugging and raping her. This was back in 1969. Now, according to Valentino, Cosby provided pills at a restaurant, causing her to pass out, and then attempted to rape her friend before assaulting her. Valentino's lawsuit is made possible by California's Assembly Bill 2777, allowing victims to sue despite the statute of limitations. Cosby's spokesperson dismissed the claims as a part of a larger effort to target successful black men like Cosby and R. Kelly, stating that they don't want him to be seen as America's dad.
Well, Courtney, I don't see this as a winning argument. You don't want to be tied to R. Kelly. I mean, he's saying, they beat up on Bill Cosby and R. Kelly.
I don't understand the mentioning of that.
Okay, spokesperson, you may need to take a break off of your duties.
One has been proven to be guilty. The other one, 69. So where's, the evidence? So it's harder to prove. Now, I'm not disputing what she's claiming, but to put I wouldn't, as a representative, I wouldn't put Bill Cosby and R. Kelly in the same sentence.
Yeah, but I mean, what's so interesting about this case is, this lawsuit again was filed under this California Assembly law, this California bill that allows for sexual abuse victims to sue their perpetrators, even if the crime occurred outside of the statute of limitations, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. What if this law begins to sweep the country? Is it fair that if there was something that happened in 1969, it's now 2023, is it fair for somebody to still be able to take somebody to court, on criminal charges? I'm
assuming yes. Because whether it was, 69, 99, 79, 2009, if there's been a violation, I would say yes. However, I do think the court system is really asking for something that they're not going to be able to handle. There are a lot of court systems who, we're over the pandemic, but who are still virtual just because they don't have the man or the woman power, if you will, or still, lack, positions or duties or services because of, folks not returning to work. So I would think it would overload the system myself. If, a barrage of cases that they couldn't handle the load.
I think this is really about statute of limitations, mm-hmm. and do we believe in them? Do we not believe in them? Because if we don't believe in them, then we take away statute of limitations for a whole range
Then
of
let it all
issues,
blow.
right? And so that is the big question, one of the big questions, along with whether or not there is guilt or innocence here. Moving along, there's more to come on Fox Soul's Black Report, including how the future of Black Lives Matter could be in jeopardy.
Yeah, we'll tell you what new research shows when it comes to the organization's approval rating and support. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report.
Well, more wildfire smoke from Canada is blanketing the U.S. Thick plumes of smoke from Ontario are compromising the air quality in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Just yesterday, the National Weather Service placed the entire state of Minnesota and most of Wisconsin under air quality alerts. Officials say the smoke is expected to clear up today and the air quality should improve.
You know, and everybody's saying, you know, Canada, you know, it's Canada's fault. Listen, America's had their fair share of wildfires, especially over there in your parts.
That's right.
In California.
We know it well.
And where California is situated and where some of those fires have been, I'm sure some of that smoke has creeped up to Canada. So this is an environmental problem, a global environmental problem. I know cities like New York, cities like Detroit, who are closely geographically very close to Canada, have suffered the most with the thicker, more toxic air, if you will. But you know, instead of pointing the finger, let's take a look at how our issues. Everybody's issues affects one another, and globally, let's come together and see what we can do. And
that's a part of why this is a global movement around addressing the issues related to climate change. Climate resilience, is something that we need to see more of. We need to invest more in. In recent years, we've seen issues related to climate justice go from being fringe issues to being mainstream issues. And this is part of the reason why, is because we're living the effects.
Yeah.
This smoke that is blowing in from Canada, is making life more complicated for people that are asthmatic, for people that suffer from COPD and other respiratory issues. And so we can't look away. If we look away, it's going to be right here on our doorstep. And I mean, in fact, we may not be able to step outside the door. For folks here in Detroit, I know we're talking about, the effects of the fires, but that thick Arctic wind, as a Detroiter, has always come down from Canada. So, I mean, there's always been this exchange of how we, how the environment affects one another. And I think these fires put that conversation, that global conversation, right at the front and center of how we need to come together as nations to solve this issue. That's right. All right, data from the Houston Police Department's Transparency Hub reveals a disproportionate use of force against Black residents by Houston police officers. You don't say. While Black residents make up 22% of the population, they represent 72% of those who have suffered severe bodily injuries at the hands of police and 63% of deaths resulting from police use of force since 2020. Now, the figures raise concerns about bias and racism within the police system. Efforts to address the issue include calls for increased trust, alternative complaint procedures, and broader social reforms to address underlying issues contributing to crime and poverty. Well, I just want to lift up the voice of a local organizer on the ground, Rashawn Evans, who organized with a group, Pure Justice, who said, quotes, "For us to be targeted 72% of the time, it shows that there's major bias, not a little bias, a major bias and racism that's been trying to get away since, slavery supposedly ended, right? And this is right there in Texas. Look, we're celebrating Juneteenth on Monday, which is supposed to be sort of the beginning of us being able to fully enjoy our freedom and be fully American, right? But statistics like this suggest that we aren't. If police are policing us at a rate that's higher than the proportion that we hold in the city, that's a problem. And we know that there's a race right now for mayor in Houston. We know that the police chiefs report into the mayors, and so that's one of the important roles that any mayor has, is appointing a police chief. But we have a Black mayor right now. We have a Black mayor of Houston right now. There are plenty of Black folks who are running to be mayor, and so they've got to answer the question: what difference would their leadership make for Black folks on this issue? When you talk about the idea of adding insult to injury,
and the whole idea of Juneteenth and it being birthed right there in Texas, if you do a little Googling and read your history. And so tell us something that we don't already know. I appreciate the statistics, I appreciate the results, but they're just telling us what we already know. They're just telling us what we've already experienced. They're just telling us what we've already, who we've already buried in regards, at the hands of either, police violence or whatever the case may be. But like give me something new. Like some solution-based results, some solution-based research that includes what we talked about a little earlier, some improved training and the culture, the blue culture. Like, I appreciate these stats, but come on, y'all, you're not telling me anything different than what we already know, what we already experience as a culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, a new study by Pew Research Center reveals a decline in support for Black Lives Matter movement among Americans. Currently, 51% of Americans express support, down from nearly 70% after George Floyd's killing in 2020. Now, the decrease is primarily driven by declining support among white adults. Support among Black and Hispanic adults remains stable. The study also highlights differing perceptions of the movement, with some describing it as, quotes, dangerous and divisive, while others view it as empowering. Age and political ideology are significant factors in support for the movement.
Listen, I love us, and I've often said that we have to matter to each other before we can expect, anybody else, for us to matter to anybody else. But I must admit, over the years, I've kind of given the organization a little bit of a side eye. A lot of it has to do with the confusion as to who is what, especially with some of the lawsuits that have been out there, some of what, kind of shows a little bit of infighting. It's very confusing as to who is what and what is what.
Yeah. I mean, look, there are a number of missteps that we've seen from Black Lives Matter Foundation, and a lot of people confuse that with Black Lives Matter Grassroots Network.
Exactly.
But that sort of tension has played out in public and has made it's been a distraction from the mission, the very noble mission, the timely mission of Black Lives Matter. But let's also not forget that this movement has faced some fierce opposition in the form of book bans and attacks on Black history and pushback against calls for police reform, right? And so there are a lot of folks on the other side of where Black Lives Matter is, that has been very successful at helping to distort the Black Lives Matter reputation and their positions. I would also point out the fact that 51% of Americans say that they strongly or somewhat support Black Lives Matter. That's actually a good number. Yeah, it's down from 70%, but go talk to the movement leaders around reparations. Reparations currently in this country doesn't have that kind of support, right? And so having over half of the folks surveyed strongly or somewhat supportive of, if any movement, let alone the Black Lives Matter movement, is still a good thing. It's a positive thing, but they do have some work to do.
Yeah, and I do agree with you, but some of that negative publicity that they've gotten over the years, I think has thrown a lot of people off. All right, moving on here. 3 categories will be added for next year's Grammys. That brings the total number to 94, rather. Now, the added categories are pop dance, recording, African music performance, and alternative jazz albums. Also, the categories of Producer of the Year and Songwriter of the Year will move to the field that also includes Album, Record, and Song of the Year. Members of the Recording Academy can vote in up to 10 categories across 3 genres, but they're instructed to vote in the ones they have the most expertise in. This will be interesting.
Yeah,
look, Afro Beats nominations. Huh?
That's right. Look, I want to give the Recording Academy an award for leading by example. This is a best-in-class example, in my view, of diversity, equity, and inclusion done right. And so hat tip to the Recording Academy CEO, Harvey Mason Jr., and, the folks on their DEI team, the Recording Academy still has a DEI team. Throughout the year, what they did was they asked for folks to submit proposals. They asked for their members to submit proposals for new categories. Those proposals were reviewed by a committee, voted on by the Academy Board of Trustees, and it didn't take years and years and years in order to get that done.
I hear you, Dr. Corte, but at the same time, I still feel like the Academy is playing catch up. I appreciate all of these new categories, inclusive categories, but I'm looking forward to more of this, but I still feel they're playing catch up.
Yeah, well, look, there's folks of color that are in charge, are leading the way, and so that's
bring it.
That's a part of how this thing goes. Coming up, the legacy and the story of Henrietta Lacks. It could be honored in a major way.
When we return, we'll tell you how she could receive a congressional gold medal and everybody who's behind this push. When we return, you're watching Fox Soul's Black Report.
Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. Well, black leaders are calling for Henrietta Lacks to be posthumously honored with the Congressional Gold Medal for her contribution to science and medicine.
Yeah, the Congressional Black Caucus, civil rights attorney Ben Crumb, and the family of Lacks, whose cells were stolen and harvested without her consent back in the 1950s, are calling for the honor. Her cells were the first human cells to multiply outside of the body, and her unknowing contribution to medicine has played a vital role in the polio vaccine, cloning, in vitro fertilization, gene mapping, and much, much more. Long overdue.
Look at the contribution of black folks to the history of America, to the advancement of science and medicine. Look at the difference that she's making, not just across the country, but around the world. It's important to know that this award is really the most prestigious award that a citizen can receive from Congress. And there have been fewer than 200 people in the history of this award that have ever received it.
And what I find amazing is that people are still learning about this story. I know there's been some of our faves, in the entertainment industry that have brought it to the forefront. There's a movie, Oprah Winfrey really championed that story. It is so interesting. And with the family and Henrietta Lacks not knowing that her body was being used in this way, I do believe there have been some monies to come, which I do believe the family absolutely deserves. And it is just one of the most interesting medical stories I've heard, alongside of the syphilis story with the black men. Something
Tuskegee
Airmen, Tuskegee experiment, very similar in nature, and it just makes you wonder how many more stories have not been unearthed just yet.
Yeah, and it's just also another reminder. I mean, her cells were stolen. Were stolen, and that's something that should continue to matter to folks. And so when we talk about calls for reparation, whether it's stolen land or stolen cells,
body parts,
this is part of what reparations, root word repair. This is part of what it means. It's not just acknowledgement in terms of giving awards and issuing apologies, but it's okay, what are you going to do to make it right? What are you going to do to make sure that the future generations don't have to deal with that kind of wrongdoing?
Don't get me started about harvesting. I do believe that has been ongoing for a very long time. All right, let's move on to Fort Polk, a U.S. Army base that's in Louisiana, is being renamed this week in honor of Sergeant William Henry Johnson. That's a Black World War I hero. It's part of the military's effort to rename bases that have Confederate names attached to them. The renaming process was laid out in a law passed by Congress back in 2020 and is expected to cost $62.5 million. The Pentagon ordered the name changes be implemented by the end of this year.
Cincinnati's mayor and 2 city council members plan to apologize to the African-American community for uprooting them over 50 years ago. The black neighborhood was forced to make room for a highway and industrial center. The long-awaited apology is expected to come at a press conference next week. Now, leaders of the city believe that it will mark the first step towards reconciliation with former residents of the Lower West End, which was known as the Kenyon Bar District, where 10,000 black families called it home.
You know what? This is, an event is no it's happened across many black cities, many urban cities, across the country. Here in Detroit, we had a black bottom. They tore Black Bottom up to make room for I-75, which is a main thoroughfare that runs north and south. And so this story, although this might be a different setting, is nothing new. It's nothing new. And I mean, it's sometimes you get so inundated with them. I just don't want us to get passive or to get numb, when we hear these stories, because these are families, these are legacies, these are generations that have been affected, and we are still affected to this day. When you talk about reparations, I think that reparations looks a lot of kind of different ways, not just a check. And stories like this are, in my opinion, proof of that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I haven't heard anybody propose it yet, but I think, in terms of reparations, what does it look like for, black Americans to be tax-free? Tax-free for a period of time. You can sunset it, if you feel the need to, but, that should be in the mix. It's important to say that there were approximately 27% of the new homes that these residents occupied when they were removed. It didn't even have toilets. You have toilets. And so the standard of living that they had where they were at versus where they were moved to, that decreased. And so when people wonder, well, how do you come up with these figures in terms of, people owing, X number of millions and billions of dollars in reparations? You got to take that sort of thing into account as well.
Indeed. Still ahead, it's one of BET's hit shows. We're talking about Tyler Perry's Sisters.
That's right. And the incomparable Nzinga Imani from the spinoff show Zatima is here to talk about the new season and her upcoming projects. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report. Come on back, y'all. Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. Well, Tyler Perry's Sisters is a hit comedy drama show that is now in its 6th season, and its spinoff, Zatima, is taking audience by storm as well.
Oh, yes, it is. Now, the show has been an instant hit since premiering last year, and one of the actors is spreading her wings and soaring into success in several fields outside of the show. We want to welcome Nzinga Imani to the show. Welcome. I don't know if we've ever had a queen before. I know something about the name Nzinga. One of my good girlfriends' name is Nzinga, honey. That's a legacy right there, and you living up to it. Believe you me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Indeed.
Well, we appreciate you. We really appreciate you being here. For those living under a rock, because that's the only place they can be.
Okay.
And haven't seen Sisters or Zatima yet, tell us about both shows and your character, Angela.
Okay. Well, Sisters it follows a group of girls and just they're navigating love and success and careers and just trying to figure it out. They're a group of friends, and one of those friends is Fatima. That character picked up steam, and now they want to know all about the backstory of her love life. So that's where the spinoff Zatima comes in, and I play her best friend, Angela, on that show. It has been so much fun working with Tyler Perry. It's been so much fun working with that cast. We really do have a blast.
Girl, Angela. That's all I got to say. But you, Nzinga, you've been in a lot of other projects. We're watching your career continue to grow and blossom. Talk a little bit about the inspiration behind why you wanted to become an actress and be a part of this crazy Hollywood world. A little bit how you got started with everything.
I always knew I wanted to be in the spotlight. I was a singer originally, and then I got pulled into the world of musical theater and absolutely fell in love. Along with that, of course, I fell in love with acting. And really, this incorporates everything. I feel like it's really given me a foot in the door where I can explore all the arts that I want to be a part of. I have a plus-size boutique, everything, and it's really just given me a little elevation so that I can go hard with everything that I do. But acting has been a very true passion, and to see it manifest so quickly and in so many ways, from being on Sisters, All the Queen's Men, to now Zatima, and being a series regular, it's incredible. Tyler Perry's making dreams come true all over the world, and I'm continuing to let his dreams blossom and become greater and greater successes. So it's just a beautiful thing to be a part of.
So for many black actors, working with Tyler Perry is a dream, as you've just mentioned. Talk to us about what's that experience like? What's it like working with him? And if you want to make a little news today, Is he or is he not
confirm it?
going to become the new owner of BET?
And Nzinga, don't let me Cordeline walk you into that.
Now, I'll be honest with y'all. Y'all know about as much information on that as I do.
Yeah.
I see the same posts that you guys do. I'm praying and hoping it's true because, of course, I think that's a great direction for BET to go in. I'm so excited that it's about to be Black-owned. Period. But for it to be Tyler Perry, someone who I've literally watched bless so many people, and walking in his faith has really created so much for so many people. I mean, his blessing has blessed millions, honestly, at this point. I know it's impacted my family greatly. So any way that he can continue to grow and his star continue to grow, I am 100% behind that.
We know that's right. Now, outside of the show, you had mentioned just a little earlier that you were a model and you got your hands on a lot of different things. You also have this clothing brand, this line. Tell us a little bit more about that for us fluffy girls.
Sure. Yes. I see you, beautiful, vivacious. I love it.
That's right.
It's called Shop Imani, N as in Nzinga, and then Imani for why I go by Nzinga Imani. It's a plus size boutique. I feel like there was just a place missing in the market for girls who look like me, who are plus size, very visibly plus size. I'm a 3X, but I still like to dress fun, flirty, sexy. I want to bring bright colors. I want to show my curves. You know, some people think you have to hide when you're plus size. I'm breaking that. I'm breaking through that mold. We're not doing that. We're breaking through that. So Shop Imani is really just about finding clothes that's something that I want to see, something that I feel like we are so limited in the market. Although we have made great strides, we still are limited. So to see it and create something where girls can come and they say, oh, I need to go to this party. I want to stand out. You don't need to put on a muumuu. You don't need to cover yourself up. Sometimes you want to, be a hot girl a little bit.
That's right.
If you want to be a hot girl, be a hot girl.
Right.
You better preach to us, doctor.
So real quick, just back to you being a model and an influencer. What can we expect to see from Nzinga this year? We know that the Essence Festival is around the corner. We know folks are going to be flocking to Sag Harbor and Martha's Vineyard, among other places. What do you got? What do you have to offer?
Well, I'm going to be all over the place this summer. I'm not yet sure if I'm going to be at Essence. I think I might be in Jamaica that week.
Hey.
It's a crazy world we live in, but I just feel blessed. But I do definitely want to be out there more, show representation more. So if there's any events anybody want to see me at, definitely let me know. My calendar, I'll make space for it.
And before we let you go, I know, we call our viewers soulmates, and they're absolutely in love with the show. When it comes to fans, especially your because this has become like a cult type thing, this sisters movement. Are they able to separate you from your character, or do they come at you, or what have your experiences been when you've been amongst the fans?
It's incredible. Honestly, it's all love, but they always let me know, like, they have a little bit of an issue with me because apparently I bring the drama. However, that is not my take on Angela. I think she's just one of those friends who's always going to give you the real. And sometimes the real is not nice and pretty and fluffy. So she's very much like me in real life. I'm gonna give you, I'm going to be sweet about it, but I'm going to also tell you about yourself. And I think that's Angela too. And they're loving the show so much, and they're seeing the character grow and develop, and it's about to get even better. So I just hope that they continue to watch, because Angela's not as bad as she seems.
Okay, I'm just, listen. So you say.
And Nzinga, we thank you so much. And right there on the screen, shop. Imani.com. It's right there. And so just in time for the summertime, all of our soulmates, you know where to go. We love you. We support you.
Yes.
You are an honorary soulmate. Godspeed to you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You are so welcome. All right, now to more celebrity headlines, as rapper Boosie Badass is in trouble once again.
TMZ reports that the Baton Rouge native was arrested after showing up to court for a gun case. It's not known why the Wipe Me Down rapper was taken into custody, but federal agents arrested him immediately after his gun hearing wrapped up and was dismissed.
Yeah, this isn't his first time landing in trouble. Most recently, he was booked in police custody back in May on multiple firearm possession charges. And I don't know where he locked up at, or maybe someone else has, access to his social media accounts, in particular Twitter, because he tweeted at 5:45 yesterday evening. He says, quote, "I want to take this time to apologize to my kids. I'm sorry, and I love y'all forever." And he gave the praying hands. And so, that's the last statement from either before or while he was locked up. And so I know you have to, the law is the law.
Yeah. But,
we're hoping for the best.
We're hoping for the best. And, look, it's important to demonstrate to the court and demonstrate in the court of public opinion that you really are apologetic for your actions. You're sorry about your actions, and you recognize the impact that your actions have had on all of the people affected. We've talked about this so often over the months right here on Fox Soul's Black Report about restorative justice, right? And, I'm not a, throw them in jail and lock them up and throw away the key kind of guy. But what does restorative justice look like when you have created some harm? And it seems to me like he's leaning into that, and I appreciate that.
But do you take away like the trust and the ability of the folks who could help to be able to help when there's this like repeat offender kind of thing going on? It sounds like he's been in this, kind of trouble before. So I hear you and I get it. But at the same time, we're going to have to take some accountability and responsibility. And once we've been released, relieved, forgiven, we've served the time to try to not find ourselves right back in that same situation.
Yeah, you're right. And it sounds like he's beginning to take some accountability, some responsibility. But that healing thing, sometimes there's one step forward, two steps back. And so I just hope that he finds his footing for the sake of his kids and his community.
And did you know that the praying hands are actually like a high five? A lot of people think it's praying hands, but it's actually a high five. Maybe they should just change the color of the hands, and then they would know that it's a high five and not praying hands. I don't think people know that.
Note to Instagram and Twitter. In the world according to Courtney Hicks. That's what you got to do.
I think that's on the iPhone. I think that's, yeah. Oh, okay. So our producer is saying when you type in blessed, it pops up. So maybe it's interchangeable. But the way I learned, it was a high five.
Oh, well, I've just been blessing people with them.
Okay.
Now, soulmates,
bless this next story.
We reported yesterday about the retirement of Pat Sajak from Wheel of Fortune.
I love it. But now there are already a lot of speculation and rumors about who could take his place. Some popular names are being floated as possible replacements for Sajak on Wheel of Fortune. Bloomberg reports none other than Ryan Seacrest, host of American Idol and about 50 other things, is reportedly under consideration, like serious consideration, like he's talking to these people already. Whoopi Goldberg said that she would love the job to be considered because it looks like a lot of fun.
That's right. Sajak announced his retirement after 4 decades as host, and many have shared that they want a female host and a male Vanna White.
I would love that. There's no surprise that they're already talking to Ryan Seacrest. Nothing concrete or definite just yet. I would love someone of color, especially, I don't know if they're all interrelated. Merv Griffin, bless his soul, he created all of these shows, or at least put them on the map. So I don't know if Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy are housed under the same folks. But there was a controversial thing going on with LeVar Burton. People thought he was the best candidate, and he didn't get it, and just a lot going on with that. So, hopefully this will be a little bit more clean, clear, and fun because it's not surrounded by anything tragic like the loss of Alex Trebek. But it's going to be interesting to see who people put out there. I was thinking Sherry.
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking Nicordelai Cortez and Courtney Hicks.
I wasn't.
Wouldn't y'all want to see that, soulmates? Wouldn't you want to see us host at least one episode? Let's just audition for Wheel of Fortune.
No. Now,
you wouldn't do it? You wouldn't do an audition?
Now what might turn me around is I don't know if they're going to pay, well, let's just like a Ryan Seacrest or maybe a Whoopi Goldberg. You think somebody's going to get the same bag that Pat Sajak gets? He gets like 20,
not at all.
20 million a year.
But he did it for 40 years. He deserved every penny.
Now for 20 million, I'd run up and down that board. Does it look something like this? With my little fat legs all out, I sure would. Because back in the day, if you remember, Vanna used to flip it. Now she just like touches it.
That's right.
I can do that.
That's right. And before you look, you better get it before AI gets it.
Oh, well, I hope they wouldn't leave it to AI. All right, some sad news this afternoon. The cause of death of rapper Gangsta Boo has been revealed. The former 3-6 Mafia rapper born Lola Mitchell died of an accidental overdose to drugs that were found on her, and a fentanyl-laced substance is also believed to be at play. Mitchell was found dead at the age of 43 on New Year's Day at her home in Memphis. Reports show that she died due to an overdose, along with cocaine and some other drugs that were also reported in that autopsy. And that is what the suspicion was. I think, someone, a family member may have found her, and that was kind of like the suspicion, the talk of the town as far as what people sort of kind of who were familiar with her and her lifestyle.
Yeah.
So,
and it's just a reminder that this fentanyl crisis is nothing to play with, right? This fentanyl crisis, is hitting everybody, right? Black, white, but when it hits everybody, sometimes it hits us harder. And so, again, hearts go out, but we got to do something serious about this fentanyl crisis. Moving along, Joseph Fiennes, the actor chosen to play the late King of Pop in a British TV comedy, is issuing an apology for his performance. That's right.
Fiennes, who is white, was cast to play Michael Jackson. I think he is, a dead ringer, all dressed up personally in the comedy centers around a road trip in the U.S. Now, the late singer is said to have taken with movie stars Elizabeth Taylor and Marlon Brando. Well, in a recent interview, he said people are absolutely right to be upset that he played a pop icon, and went on to say it was a wrong decision to take that well, but also said, I'm one part of that. There are producers, broadcasters, writers, directors, all involved in these decisions. Those are his words. Not quite understanding what he was trying to say, however.
He's trying to say it wasn't just him that made the decision to play Michael Jackson. There are other people that had a chance to weigh in and supported that decision. And I would say that all of those people got it wrong, including him.
But he looked like Michael.
I don't think he looked like Michael. He did not look like Michael Jackson. Stop it down. Please.
There's a point, and I love Michael Jackson, God bless his soul. There was a point where Michael Jackson didn't look like Michael Jackson. So, listen, and I know that the biopic that the family is blessing, I do believe is in the works. I think a nephew is going to play him. Maybe the bloodline thing will work, and we'll get a better version, if you will, of Michael Jackson. That'll be interesting to see. But there's a lot of different looks that come with Michael Jackson.
That white man don't look like Michael Jackson. You can't sell that to me today.
But can you see why you see he thought he
Sunday,
could?
You can't
Can you see why he thought he could play Michael Jackson?
No, I don't see it. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Up next, y'all already know it's our favorite segment of the show, Black Excellence. And today we are talking graduation.
Yes, and we'll tell you what 5 sisters were able to accomplish when we return. You're watching FOXSOUL's Black Report. Not just a little bit.
They don't look like Michael Jackson either. Don't nobody look like Michael Jackson.
I'm talking about the guy, the white guy.
Time now to meet a family of 5 Nigerian sisters who all became medical doctors.
The Alu family was blessed with 5 outstanding daughters, all of whom pursued careers in medicine. Salamat, the oldest sibling, specializes in neurosurgery, making her the first female neurosurgeon in West Africa. Halima pursued a career in plastic surgery. Khadija chose the path of family medicine. Ralat works as an OBGYN, and Medina serves as a community health physician.
That's right. The sisters managed to break through the barriers and excel in a male-dominated profession, and also serve as an inspiration, encouraging women to pursue their dreams and challenge societal norms, especially within the Black community.
Love to see it. Look at all those gorgeous queens. And I love how they're all doctors, but they chose very different disciplines, very different paths, but all, for the good, of the good. And then the long withstanding message to, hey, break through those barriers and carve your own path. And that you have to really dwell in possibility. And they are examples of that.
And there is a long history of Black women across the diaspora playing roles in our community as healers, right? And so in my view, this is just another form of that. We've been doing this, since the beginning of time. And so to see this family of sisters disrupting people's preconceived notions about, who can be doctors and what doctors in various fields can look like, and what young Black women can aspire to do. That is why this is Black excellence that we love to share.
It's amazing. All right, for the full rundown on today's stories and more, you can access Fox Soul's video on demand on any of our partners. You can access past shows and other Black-centered content. Don't forget to download the Fox Soul app. It is absolutely free, and we're looking forward, Soulmates, for you to join us tomorrow because it happens to be our last show.
That's right.
So I wanted to make sure we send out a special invitation. I don't know what we're going to do just yet. I've heard an Atlanta housewife will join us.
Yes.
But yeah, we definitely want you to be a part of this closing out of this chapter.
It has been an honor to sit at this desk and to take each and every one of you on a journey across Black America, the stories that don't get enough attention and the views and opinions that you don't hear enough of. And so tomorrow will be our final episode, but we ain't going nowhere.
I know. What do they say? Reason, season, lifetime. I think this was just a reason.
Yeah.
I think it would have been, if it was a little longer, it would have been more of a season. But this is definitely a reason, and those reasons have yet to reveal themselves. So
and when we say,
we're excited about what's to come.
Yes, and when we say that it takes a village to produce the show, we hope that tomorrow we get a chance to showcase
some of the village,
some of the folks that are a part of that village, both behind the camera and in the booth.
Okay, speaking of behind the camera, Steve is holding up 30 seconds. You're doing a lot of talking because you got a fight to go catch.
That's right.
It's been Courtney. It's been real. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Cordelide Corte. On behalf of the village here at Fox Soul's Black Report, stay lifted, y'all.
Get on out of here.
See you soon.
Get on out of here.